Osiris with the ark and the pillar. Here is the ark, the pillar, and the serpent, symbol of the wormhole that dwelled within that pillar. After their excavation, the Templars return to France and they start building cathedrals, including Notre Dame here, which has this bas-relief of the symbol for alchemy, which is a ladder to God. They take the secrets and deliver them wholesale originally to a place called Saint Denis in Paris. And this is the interior of Saint Denis. In his writings, the abbot of Saint Denis, whose name was Suger, from 1122 to 1151, equated divine light with the light that shimmered through the stained glass windows of his beloved abbey. So what happens is the Templars recover the secrets of the pillar of light, the flower of light. They come back to Paris, inaugurate the cathedral age, and Saint Denis is their very first place where they bring this stuff. They give Abbot Suger wholesale their secrets, and he starts doing this really kind of bizarre, far-out Christian writing, all about the divine light, and he tells us that the stained glass in his church encode part of the secrets, and that the divine light comes through as stained glass. This is the golden chalice at Saint Denis, by the way. One of the medallions at Saint Denis was personally designed by Abbot Suger. And what does it show but the true cross of crucifixion? And what does Suger's true cross of crucifixion look like? Well, it has an ark with wheels and it has a pillar attached to it. That ark with wheels and the pillar attachment is the complete Ark of the Covenant, the complete pillar of crucifixion, the device that acts as an antenna to bring the blue apples to earth, that was housed at Solomon's temple, brought back to France, but was known to many other cultures and civilizations. This is the Gen religion, the religion of love, and they too had an ark with wheels and the exact same pillar attached to it. This is the same pillar that was at the center of Atlantis, the pillar of love, the pillar of Meru. This is the reason that the Cathars were exterminated. And when we go to southern France and we walk Cathar country, they tell us that the secrets of the Book of Love, the pillar of love, are literally in the air of this area. That somehow the Cathars were able to take their secrets and imbue them into the soil. So that as we're walking along the soil of southern France, we're actually putting ourselves in tune and in touch with the key pieces to the puzzle of the Book of Love. Which takes us to this place, Ren-le-Chateau, France. A mystery island in the middle of the Cathar Sea. Actually, it's a tiny hilltop village. This right here that we're looking at is the library of one Berenguer Saunier. When we look at Berenguer Saunier's library, we find that he has a special symbol right there on his window. That symbol, of course, is the symbol for the wood, the love, the quintessence. Berenguer Saunier was a poor church mouse priest who comes to Ren-le-Chateau, does some excavating. Next thing he knows, he finds some parchments. Some say they're the genealogy of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. The story is the crucifixion, and that after the crucifixion, Jesus and Mary Magdalene came to Ren-le-Chateau, deposited their secrets, and had a family there. Well, for whatever reason, or by whatever means, this priest suddenly becomes incredibly wealthy, and among other things, he builds his library, and on the very window of his library, he stamps the secret, the symbol for the blue apples, and the symbol for the Book of Love. One of those parchments looks like this right here. It talks about Jesus walking with the disciples through the cornfield. Now, when they talk about Jesus walking through the cornfield with the disciples, my mind takes me instantly to the movie Field of Dreams. Remember the cornfield, the interdimensional portal? Why else is Jesus in the cornfield with the disciples? I think it's a metaphor, a symbol for the doorways. So this parchment in Latin tells all about the Jesus in the cornfield with the disciples, but then in the 1960s, along comes a very controversial decoding of this very parchment. The parchment says, "Shepherdess, no temptation," to which Poisson and Teniers keep the key piece 681. "With the cross and the horse of God, I complete or destroy this demon guardian at midday, blue apples." And there it is. And very few researchers tread into the ground of this parchment because it seems just so utterly bizarre. Others say it's just a total fake, and you don't want to pay attention to it anyway. The blue apples, again, are the whole secret of Ren-le-Chateau, the secret of the Cathars, the secret of Ea, and are again represented on this church, on Berenguer Saulnier's library. When he gets all this massive amount of money, Berenguer Saulnier goes about refurbishing the Church of Mary Magdalene at Ren-le-Chateau. He called it the Church of Magdalene, but actually it was an original temple of Isis. And after refurbishing the church, he goes onto the outside of the entranceway to the church and he puts the inscription, "Terrible is this place." And at the entrance, he puts a demon guardian to guard this entrance. Terrible is this place is a phrase that comes from the book of Genesis. When Jacob had laid his head on a stone and he saw a ladder that reached into heavens. And he went up this ladder and he came back down and he took a look around and he says, "Man, this place sucks." Okay? Well, that's not exactly what he said. What Jacob actually said was, "Terrible is this place. This is none other than the gate to God, and this is the gate to heaven." Now, we're well equipped at this moment to fully interpret Jacob's experience. He laid his head on a stone. Well, let's remove the first letter S, and we find out that Jacob laid his head on a tone, a ketone frequency or vibration that altered his brain waves. Remember, Eshcol, where Joshua stole the cluster of grapes, also means stone. So maybe Jacob was actually stoned, or he had been drinking a little too much wine. And this altered his brain waves. So Jacob lays his head on the stone, and he goes up, and he comes back down. And he says, "This is none other than the gate to God, and this is the gate to heaven." I think what happened is that Jacob indeed laid his head on a stone. As I like to point out in this instance, what we find is that people want to, again, take you to the Holy Land and say, when Jacob had his experience, it was at a place called Luz, which means the light. And tour guides will take you to a place where Jacob had his experience. But I prefer to go into Gray's Anatomy for my definition of where Luz and the light in that place actually was. Because when you go to Gray's Anatomy and you look at the retina of our eye, which acts as a light net, you find that there's 10 layers to the retina of the eye. 9 of those layers are labeled with complex Latin medical terms. The 10th layer is called Jacob's layer. I believe that Jacob's ladder is in our eye. And what he possessed was a means to open the eye. But the eye, we know, is actually a symbol for the Stargate, for the wormhole, for the disk. And so he was able to perceive with his eye what is all around us, the gate to God.
Are you not going to point out that that's a painting by Poussin?
Yes, thank you very much. That indeed is a painting by Nicolas Poussin, one of the gentlemen, one of the painters who appears in the Blue Apples parchment. Those same blue apples appeared at the crucifixion, which again I have shown as a gateway experience. This is actually the devil that Saulnier installed at the entranceway to the Church of Mary Magdalene. I mean, you can go to Catholic churches all over the world, and they've all got a devil that greets you. Right? Yeah. Why did this guy put the devil in his church? He's not the devil. His name is Pan. Pan, whose name means bread, is the same as Fons. I'm not talking about the Fons. It's Fons, Phanes, Fon. You know, you have to play with the linguistics. You find that Phanes is the same as Pahana. Well, who the hell is Pahana? Well, Pahana is the true white brother of the Hopi. He's the same as Masua, the guy that, remember, took the Hopi through the 4 galaxies. This is him, right here, in a slightly different guise. And here he is again, also known as Mithras, stepping through the egg, surrounded by the zodiac, the serpent winding up his body, his rod beside him. He's our Stargate trooper. Fons, the revealer of the bread and the wine, the elements, the communion, the Holy Grail, which is why Fans, Pahana, Masua, and Messiah share the identical symbolism. Cut and paste. The egg that the Fans or Fanis emerges from is the symbol for, again, a whole note, a tone, a galaxy, which ultimately, as I have submitted, is the secret of the blue apples, the ring of the Milky Way. There is a key piece to this puzzle, says the blue apples parchment. If you come to Ren-le-Chateau with me, I'll tell you what the key piece is. I'll describe it for you. John the Baptist inside the church of Mary Magdalene is here baptizing Jesus with a silvery cockle shell. Well, that's not the technical definition of the baptism. He's supposed to be baptizing him in water, not with the silvery cockle shell. Silver axe, you say, is some kind of an earthly element, one of the key pieces of the Anunnaki puzzle that brings mystical rebirth and helps us go beyond the barrier of light, is an actual element that we can find here on Earth today? Yes. I've followed the secrets, or the trail of this key piece, 681, the silvery key of the Anunnaki, and I found a group of Western medical researchers that are using it to treat cancer, AIDS, and leukemia. Problem is, they don't have a delivery mechanism that makes it useful for the average person. My research in Ren-le-Chateau says, well, the Templars knew all about it. They grew marijuana in Ren-le-Chateau in soil that was seeped with this element, I believe. They took the marijuana, made an ointment out of it, and stuck it in their ear where the blood vessels are closest to the skin. The silvery key piece of mystical rebirth and enlightenment seeped into their blood. The blue apples are in the blood. And it brought healing to the Templars. They also grew wine in this area, saturated with this element, drank the wine, introduced the element into their bloodstream. Pretty clever people. Here's a shunt that's made by this particular research organization that is using this element, again, to treat cancer, AIDS, and leukemia. See, after the crucifixion, you end up with the blood of Christ, which is something to be worshipped. Well, actually, I think it's a medical condition. It's a quality of blood. And the secrets of transmuting ordinary human blood into the blood of Christ is what we're all searching for. You have the blood of Christ running through your veins. You have the blue apples in your veins. Your longevity is greatly increased. Your intelligence is enormously increased. And so is your spiritual capability. Ea brought 4 treasures with him, and I want to talk about those now because these 4 treasures are called the Sword of Destiny, the Cup of Destiny, Wand of Destiny, and Stone of Destiny, all which are interchangeable terms for the Grail and even the Ark of the Covenant. All have great connections between Tara and Ireland and great connections in Ren-le-Chateau, France. The 4 treasures that Ea brought, I believe, are the same as the 4 21st century power tools for Stargate construction. Bits, genes, neurons, and atoms. And the reason I feel that these are actually the original teachings of Ea is because, look, we're talking about a culture, a civilization that came from elsewhere, came to Earth, genetically modified the human body, had the ability to travel through space. Surely they're at the same or greater technological capability than we are today. And right now, these 4 new power tools represent the ultimate knowledge that we have concerning our universe. As we learn to more fully manipulate these 4 treasures, we are gods. And right now, we stand with 1 foot in the new Atlantis with these 4 power tools in our hands. And with our understanding of these 4 power tools, we can remake the Earth matrix, we can redesign the human body, and we can build stargates. They are the 4 evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. They are genes. They are nanotechnology, miniaturization, technology at such a small level that we can't even see it with the naked eye. The nanometer length scale is 1 to 100 nanometers, and for comparison, 10 nanometers is 1,000 times smaller than the diameter of the human hair. Now, there's scientists that are really up in arms about our nanotechnology capability these days because there could be an invisible nano being standing right here beside